All right, everyone, welcome to our Tuesday market stats and broker meeting. Today we've got a special guest, Stephen Green. Thank you, Stephen, for coming out and hanging out with us for a bit. Let's jump right into it, Mike. I mean, we've got some interesting stats. Kick us off. What are you seeing out there?
All right, well, let's talk what we usually talk. So we're going to start new listings in the region. 200 new listings in the last week, which is up a little bit from where we had been December and the beginning of the last few weeks. Oddly enough, though, we only saw 74 listings go pending. And that is short of about 50. We were usually sitting around 120. So it's kind of a strange concept out there. So we saw more listings come to market. And if you've been out, you've been doing shows, you've been doing offers, especially if you've been working in the bottom end of the freehold market, you're going to think that millions of houses were selling, especially with the fact that there's been so many multiple offers again. That bottom end of the freehold market, we really are starting to see even homes that aren't holding offers. You go to put one in 2-3 days on the market, and you're being told, by the way, you're in multiples now. I've got another one. You know, how many of us would show a property if it's not holding offers? We typically call the agent or send a note. And if you're not doing this, do this. I actually spoke with an agent last week who was like, nobody told me that they got an offer on the house. My clients had no idea. Like, can I put a RICO complaint? I said, well, was there a 244? Was there an offer date? Well, no. And agents don't owe us anything in that aspect. So when you're finished doing that showing and you say, hey, keep me in the loop if any offers come in, all of a sudden people are put that out there and you're getting a call. By the way, now I got one, right? Because as soon as you bring one, I know now as a listing agent, I gotta go contact all these people that have told me to kept in the loop, and you're gonna be forced to multiple. So it has been strange out there, given the fact that, you know, only 74 houses sold, but we're still seeing like 2, 3, 4 offers on properties that aren't holding. 10, 11, 12 offers on properties that are holding. Only 74 sold.
Well, and I think one of the caveats to that, though, Mike, is you sort of touched on it right out of the gate, where it's the lower end of the freehold market. Some condos in there, and condo townhouses in there as well, but sort of that under $800,000 mark. That doesn't have over $400 condo fees if there's a condo wrapped into that as well. And so simply put, I think affordability has finally started to change a little bit, where interest rates are now at a point, I mean, I've seen, and Stephen, you'll talk about this, I've seen as low as 3.99 for some really qualified borrowers. And so at 3.99 versus 6% that we were seeing about a year ago at this time, that's a massive difference in affordability and what people can afford today.
Yeah, and you take that and you couple that with the new 30-year amortization. Okay, so what we've noticed is first-time homebuyers are out in droves. Like they're getting off the fence, they're asking questions, and I will also say they're not waiting. They're like, I found a house, I want to buy this. Okay, and when I'm hearing multiples like that, I'm seeing that as well, especially Kitchener-Waterloo. We're down to 1.8 months of inventory. Like that, we're right back to where it was. So now all of a sudden, all these people who haven't listed, now we got a shortage of inventory. We got buyers coming in, lower rates, 30-year AM. And here we go.
It's sort of that feeling of the perfect storm from like 2020,
it feels like
2022. Yeah, starting to happen again. And so, you know, what's going to happen, folks, is the bottom of the market is where the push starts. And so as that inventory starts to get chewed up and those those sellers start to sell, make a little bit more money, they're going to move up. And they're going to start chewing up at the inventory that's sitting there above that. And that's going to start to go down. And then all of a sudden, we're going to see multiples again. Now, we've seen examples of 20 offers on properties, 12 offers on properties. We had one last week. It was a townhouse condo, $350 in condo fees listed. And 2 days later, we had 3 offers with several other people disappointed prior to the open house that would have made an offer as well. We weren't saying that 6 months ago.
You know, condos are becoming now more popular with the lower condo fees to start. And I think you're right. As the sellers now start to get back into the market, the buyers are buying, that domino effect. And I think those other condos are going to start to see movement. And you got to remember too, we haven't been building condos or any single family homes. Nothing's been being built.
It's building.
Like we could have a shortfall coming very quickly. So that perfect storm, it's brewing.
And it wasn't even just, we haven't talked about that 6 months ago. Andre, I had a few listings in November. It was like pulling teeth to get offers on them. And I mean, it was both at a condo townhouse. And it was offer day and I didn't negotiate a successful offer until a week after. I had, in fact, we worked on it together at a single family property, 4 bedrooms. And it was only at 800 grand. And again, it was pulling teeth in November to get to an offer accepted.
Wow.
And now here we are.
Well, that's so quick how it changes, right? So
That's what I was
I
gonna say.
remember going back kind of both sides. So going back to sort of 21 and we were chugging along. Yeah, we were busy, we were doing stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like immediate fire on the market,
Yeah,
like
we'll-
someone poured gasoline on it. And then it happened sort of the same way the other way. It was like we were going along, multiple offers, and then within a weekend, it was like nothing again. So here we are kind of on the precipice of that and what we're seeing. And you, Stephen, you said some really interesting stuff that we talked about when you talked about inflation numbers and stuff like that. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
So we're coming into a very interesting time. Nobody went to school for this, okay? The stuff that we're going through, nobody learned how to do this in economics 101 anywhere, okay? You know, we've got a president north of the border that's just spewing stuff and did a great video on that this morning. Just everyone relax and see what happens, okay?
Yeah.
The tariffs were just a joke.
Yeah, it's
He's
just
2
kidding.
days in
Oh my
and
God.
it's unreal.
That was one of those, that was classic Trump though. He was playing poker, threw the bluff out and watched how we folded like a cheap deck around.
Oh, yeah, I mean, for all his faults, a pretty smart guy that way, regardless. But yeah, I think so. Inflation came in lower this morning, not by a lot, but by enough. And whenever you look at inflation, you got to really dig into the numbers a little bit, which I've done a little bit this morning. And the 2 big things we look at is housing inflation is at 4.5%, right? And gas is 3.5. So if we strip away just housing costs and gas, we're probably in an economy that's just simply stalled, right? So this is where the threat of tariffs and all the other stuff is really ramping things up, right? So this is where also too, I think a lot of people in Canada, if they lose their job or whatever, for the most part, they'll find something else, especially in this region, great demographic.
We're economic powerhouse.
Get them pre-approved, get them into a house, and then, you know, for the most part, their strategies we can work on. So
That's awesome.
No, with those inflation numbers, did they look at milk? Cause I got 4 kids and I think I was like $300 on milk last week. Are you sure?
I haven't dug in that deep. It was just they told me what I was supposed to say in the article, right? Housing and gas. I live into the whole real propaganda stuff too, but I know food's a funny one because it's good. Well, it's going to be actually a little bit off because there's no GST or there's no GST. So it's probably going to be a tough number to figure out. But yeah, I know milk ain't getting cheaper.
Now, what are you seeing, Stephen, on sort of the investor side of stuff? Because we know that investors pulled away hard.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to see a little bit of activity from my investor groups where they're starting to ask questions and look at things again. Are you seeing an uptick in the investor world?
I'm seeing questions being asked. I'm seeing, so very simple why investors exited the market, okay? Rates going up, prices staying where they are, things weren't moving. Those two things don't equal. But when rates start coming down, all of a sudden you can play with cash flow. So what I'm noticing from investors, it's no longer throw an offer in and hope for the best, and then you score, right? Because you can be a very good investor at 1.nothing%, right? But I'm noticing investors are asking questions, but now they're doing more due diligence, right? Let's look at the demographic. Let's look at the client base. What does the cash flow look like? How can I be more tax savvy? This is something they're all getting into now. So
now, any effects from the CRA kind of throwing that curveball that it didn't get approved for the extra capital gains, but we're going to collect on it anyway.
Well, I know Polyev just, I think yesterday in a press conference had said that that's the next tax that he's going to be repealing.
Right.
If or when he gets into power, we're taking that away, we're going back to becoming an industrial country and pushing for the economic.
Okay.
So that was that one he was bringing away. He's calling that the jobs tax.
Right.
Because too many jobs are going south of the border with all the investment going south.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that just yesterday at his press conference, he said he would instantly be bringing it back to.
Got it. All right. I mean, let's open it up. I know we got a number of agents on here with questions or what you're seeing in the market. Happy to hear what you're sort of seeing. Are you seeing what we're seeing? Are you seeing something different? Or do you have any questions? We'll open it up to you folks online. It's killed it.
Perfect. Everyone's having a bang in January.
Yeah, everyone's doing well. That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, I mean, we're here. We'll leave this open for a bit if you have any questions, but that's kind of the tail of the market right now and what we're seeing. Yes, there's a start back to multiple offers. For those of you that were joining a little bit late, we're starting to see some activity happen in that sort of lower end freehold. So you're thinking under 800,000, 6, 7, up to 800,000. We're seeing a ton of activity there, a ton of multiple offers there starting to show up. The higher end and the lower end in the condo space still sort of catching up, but Stephen mentioned inventory is coming down to 1.8%, 1.8 months of inventory, and so that is going to have an effect. Diana said, what's the fastest way to getting listings? Diana, that's a really interesting one. And so, you know, typically what I would look for in that instance, I mean, the fastest way to get a listing is to talk to a for sale by owner. Simply put, they already have their hand up. Most of them don't sell. And so if you get really good at learning how to convert that, I believe we have a course happening in February on first-time home buyers. Kristen Schultz is going to be doing that one. She on average converts 8 to 10 for sale by owners every single year. So make sure you're registered for that one. But what the key there is they already have a hand up. They're ready to sell, and less than 90% of them ever do sell. So where do you find them? Well, you're going to look at your Kijijis, your Facebook Marketplace. Some of them are mere postings. Now you got to be careful with that and making sure that they don't actually have a contract signed with a brokerage. So you can't talk to them if they do have that. A lot of times it's just driving around. You see the signs out there sitting around. So they are there.
The other one is obviously sitting open houses.
Yeah.
Because the people shopping oftentimes will have something to sell. Make sure if you're looking for listings and you're doing open houses, you want to be holding open houses in the step up market for the most part. Because in that market, you know, the buyers that are out looking around more often than not are going to have a property that they're selling behind. If you're doing the entry level freehold open houses, you're probably having a lot of first time buyers come through. So pick and choose the right open house, go after your for sale by owners. You gotta remember, there's always two facets to your business when it comes to listings. If you're looking for something right now, real quick, it's always for sale by owner. Step down is doing the open houses. But the other aspect of your business is they should be coming up through your database nurtures, right? So if you've been doing this for any time more than 1 year, you should have at least 300-400 people in that database from the last year's worth of work that you're constantly following up with and nurturing. And that is where your fastest source of business will eventually come from. It is the people that you've been talking to for 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. Then you start to find that they're coming every.
Mike, question for you. Step up, is that your 800 to 900,000 price point?
I would say what you're looking for in your step up is you can anything single detached, you can still find that there could be a step up if people moving from a condo or a semi. Now again, the bottom end of the detached homes that are listed right now at $599, $699, and they're selling for $775, close to $8. There's a lot of first-time buyers in that market as well, but you're also going to find the people that are making their step up from that semi that they've owned for a few years. I think that that's probably your hottest market. I think if you were to sit anything where you want to maximize your opportunity, it would be in one of those sort of single attached homes priced around that 700,000, 700,000 mark, knowing it's going to sell under 8. Because you will, in fact, get some first-time buyers through there, which, as Steve pointed out, they're out in droves right now. And yes, we all want a listing business, but hey, if I can sit one open house and find 4 first-time home buyers that want to work with me, you turn those over the course of 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, I think is the average still. What's wrong with that?
Here's one for you. I don't know if this will work or not.
Yeah.
So hope this is editable if it's not right, but okay. So let's, if I'm a realtor, okay, statistically, people move within 2.5 years after they buy their first house. Are you able to search for sold listings from 2 years ago in an area or from a brokerage or whatever and say, okay, they're coming up to, they bought 2 years ago. Maybe I reach out to them and see what their plans are. Because I'm thinking, I know what we try to do is we try to stay in contact with our clients nonstop. So if the realtor's doing a really good job of post-sale, cool, they're in front of them, they're going to be like buzz off, no problem. But if you can catch, someone who's maybe not following up with their clients, stuff like that, is that? a good thing, a
Yeah,
bad thing?
100%. No, you can definitely find statistics on all that. You can definitely find where the sales have happened. And so one of the things that we talked about consistently last year, Mike, I know you and I talked about it quite a bit, is, you know, looking back to a time where people were in a normal market like this. So if they bought in 2017,
I was gonna say
2018, guess
17.
what? They'll make a move now because this market feels normal to them.
And they've made money on.
And they've
credits,
made
too.
money on their
Good
house.
point,
Their,
yeah.
their house has probably gone up 50-60%.
Yeah.
So it's a great time to start talking to some of those sort of people who bought or sold in 2017, 2018. Whether you were in the business or not, you probably had friends in that point. Look at your database, look at when they bought or sold last, and have those conversations.
Flat out go to Matrix.
Yeah.
Search sold properties, closed properties from 560 days to 800 days.
It's all there. Hopefully that helps, Diana. What other questions are you guys sort of having? That's a great question too, but I love that one. No problem. Don't be shy, folks. It's early in the year. This is when you get to put your business together. You've still got tons of time to hit the goal. And don't forget, everything we do is 90 days out. So right now you're working in January, you're working for March or April. You got to get going or you're going to miss the spring market. How do you convert the leads? And what leads specifically are you referring to? Maybe unmute, give me a little more context to what you're thinking. Can't find the mute. And let me see if I can help. See if this pops up for you.
No, it was just off screen. So I have
Oh,
trouble
there you go.
from open houses, but converting from databases, so kind of all together. Like maybe asking
Yeah,
the
so
right.
I mean, when you identify a lead, no, that's okay. We'll kind of pick it apart and hopefully we can get to an answer there. So, number of different ways to convert a lead. The first thing you got to do is add value. So you've made contact with a lead, someone's come through the open house. What's going to separate you from the other 3 open houses and the other 3 realtors that are talking to them? And the number one thing is value. So whether that's statistical information, your unique selling or value proposition, or something that you offer them, the very first thing you got to do is get into contact with them where they'll agree to a 2-way conversation with you. The second thing you got to do is stay consistent with them and be willing to follow up longer than anybody else. So the reason most of us don't convert leads is we only talk to them maybe once, twice, maximum 3 times. That's the average. And that's actually on the high side. Most realtors give up after the second time.
I sent
trying.
2 texts. They never got back to me. They must not want to work with me.
Correct. When the reality is the average conversion of any lead can sometimes take 8 to 10 contacts before they're actually ready to convert or ready to talk to you. And it's simply, you've made the contact, you need to keep nurturing them and staying with them. And then the second piece of that is we put too many eggs in one basket. So generating 1 lead isn't necessarily enough. It's generating consistent leads over time and then figuring out what your conversion is. So if it's an online lead, as an example, the average conversion is 1%. So for every 100 leads that you bring in online, you may get 1. Now that's going to give you a nurture and somebody to work to, but you might need 5 nurturers in order for you to get a client. And that number is going to be different for everybody as well, depending on the skills and how much you do. But typically what I say is go talk to 20 people a day, get 20 contacts a day, and you will pretty well guarantee that on a week-to-week basis, you will have converted a lead through conversation.
Numbers game.
And just on top of that, for let's say your open house conversion that you were speaking about, get systematized with it, right? Have something in your CRM program, whether that's command, whatever you're using, so that you know that the second you've met with somebody, your first step is they get a quick video from you. Hey, it was great to see you at 123 Main today. You know, the nice house with the pool in the backyard. We chatted for a few minutes, and I'm hoping I can get in contact with you soon. And then send them a follow-up email with other active listings area. The next day, it's a text message asking if they got the email with a link to some of the pendings in the area that were similar. So you're giving them the value, you're giving them information, and you're staying in contact with them day after day after day after day. I know some people, we have a limiting belief saying, I'm gonna bother them, they're not gonna wanna deal with me, but here's the thing. So what? Better to get them off the plate than they don't want to. You know, anything that Grant Cardone does, the king of follow-up when there's a lead that comes in. I mean, I made the mistake of saying I liked something one time and I got three calls a day from his team.
Yeah.
For like a month. Right?
They're relentless.
Yeah, it's relentless and it's in the pursuit of converting that lead. So like Andre said, if you have a basket of leads, the ones that are going to convert and are going to work with you aren't going to be put off by the fact that you keep sending them value. Eventually they're going to say, hey, Ann, you know what? I saw those listings. I would like to maybe take a look at
I think too, adding value, I think also it's also bringing your team in. So, you know, and I know you were working with Brian and myself on that one particular client. And listen, I think if you can bring your team up when you're in those discussions saying, look, I'm well connected. I've got a great network. I've got a lawyer who knows what they're doing. I got a mortgage guy who's going to get stuff done. I mean, that one particular lead that we've been working on for a couple of weeks, it might go rent to own, it might go to National Bank, which our brokerage has access to. No one else has that. So there's a lot of things in there where I think if you really show off that network and what you really bring to the table, there's a lot of folks that don't do that because that is 100% value bragging point for your clients, right?
Yeah, when you can say that your network is able to take care of them in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I used to joke. I remember my first couple of years in the business, and you know, I'd already become a broker, and I'd be dealing with people, and I'd be like, "Don't worry about it. You can trust me because everybody in my network, I'm the weakest link." And so far, things are going well with me, right? So
That's good. I like that.
That's a good one. And so, yeah, and I mean, it's simply consistency and continuing to talk to them over time. Remember, we're humans, so we're trained to say no, even though we need your help and we want your help. Just keep adding that value and keep in conversation with them. Now, when it comes to Dan's question, so Dan's saying, how do you tackle sort of that spring versus now market? Dan, I would get clarity from them. What's important about spring? So, you know, you want to wait till spring. What's important about that? And in typical fashion, most people are going to say, well, there's going to be tons of inventory. I'm going to have more to look at. And if you explain to them that, hey, if I do my job correctly, you don't need to look at everything on the market because we're going to narrow you down to what specifically you're looking for. And with that increase in listings also comes an increase in competition. And so today, looking for a house, you might find that there's just less people you're competing with. Come spring market, when everybody else in the market is ready to look, you're now in bigger competition in a busier market. And so sure, there's going to be more houses there, but you actually stand less of a chance of getting there. Now, you might also want to explain to them that the home purchasing process may take anywhere from 60 to 90 days as well, depending on what's out there. And so depending on when they're looking to move, waiting till spring actually mean that they're not moving until summer, and that might not work in their plan. So I would go back to the client and just ask a lot of questions about what's significant to them, about waiting until spring and when they want to move, and sort of get into that consultation mode with them and showing them why now might be the better time to take advantage of some of that equity they're going to gain coming into spring market.
power's always in the question, Dan, right? So, you know, if that comes up and, you know, I want to wait till there's more inventory, you know, you can ask a simple question. Can I ask you a question, Dan? If you're thinking right now as a first time buyer that it's best to wait till spring because that's when all the opportunity is going to be there, do you think there might be other first time buyers thinking the exact same thing? Yeah, probably the majority of them. Yeah, you're all going to come off the fence at the same time. Why don't we beat them to the punch?
And something else we're seeing too from that standpoint. I think a lot of clients that are coming to you that are new to me, they've never, especially the repeat buyers, mainly the folks that are getting ready to sell and they want to buy something else. They have never had a plan or a strategy built. And I think the way the world is now with higher rates and unemployment and uncertainty in job market and whatever, all the stuff that's coming up, more and more, the way that you can also add value is that if you know your mortgage person is into planning and strategy, and not just boom, here's your 5-year fix, see you later, see you in 5 years. That's another way you can bring value, because I'm telling you, folks are coming to me and they don't know what to do, they don't know how to do it. There are gaps in the app, you gotta wait 6 months, but if they're thinking spring ever, they're in front of me, I can say, look, based on these things, you may want to do this now, or based on this, we have to do this to make sure it can happen. So there is a lot of strategy and planning that's coming up right now.
And with all the recent changes to
Oh.
what's going on in the mortgage industry, 30-year rates, we're for the first time in a long time starting to see a variable rate look very similar to a
Oh.
fixed rate,
Yeah,
right? So it really is, it's about getting your people in touch with the right financial and mortgage person that can help sort of steer them in the right direction and set them up for success. Because there's a lot more to it now than there was, 4 or 5 months ago, when we're just saying, yeah, go ahead, just take your 6% fixed rate. That's the best you're gonna do.
totally.
Yeah, completely. Awesome, guys. I believe that's our time. If anyone doesn't have any other question, we're gonna be here every Tuesday. Steven's gonna come out with us from time to time. We're also gonna have different special guests coming through. Love that you guys are making and committing to your businesses. And this is how you focus on that consistency. And for those of you with questions on conversion, go back, have more conversations with people. They will convert. Thank you all.
And also, just before you go, this new format that we're running here at the office, 10:30 is when we're done online, but we're gonna be available till 11 o'clock for anybody in the office that wants to sit around, chat, and ask.
Awesome.
So come in.
Yeah, we'll see you guys. Have a good one.
Have a great week.